Good morning. I'm Erica. For those who don't know, I'm Director of Sales here at 21st, and I'm joined by Scott Fagen, our Chief Product Officer. And thank you for joining us this morning for our 7th Storage Byte. We've been hard at work and have some new innovative functionality around HSM to talk about. And as always, this is an interactive session. We welcome feedback and questions, so please speak up. When you see this, I know I said this when I saw it, you might say, why didn't someone do this before? This is so awesome. So please, if you think of something like this that you'd like to see built in, and that might make your life a little easier, just let us know. For those who can join our previous Storage Bytes, they've been uploaded to a YouTube channel now under 21st Century Software, and I'll send out the link following this meeting. Be sure to check out our next Storage Byte, July 15th. It's going to be a customer roundtable discussion. Just as a reminder, we're recording this session, so I'll ask that you mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Scott. Let's talk about HSM.
All right. Thanks, Erica. So I think that this presentation is the result of what happens when somebody new comes in and starts eating the dog food that you've been building for 30 years and goes, man, it would just be great if. And so we let this guy go, and he created what I think is a really useful dialogue for using HSM. For both storage administrators and something that you can give to your end users to use as well. Let's just jump right in. So today we're talking about this new ISPF dialog that's being shipped along with Total Storage 1.7. It'll show up, or has already showed up, depending on where the shipping machinery is these days, in Total Storage 1.7. So it's available to you basically immediately. So let's just jump right in. The total storage main menu now has a couple of new options on it. We've talked about options 4 and 5 before. We've taken some things that were less frequently used off of the main panel, and now they're, quote, hidden behind the U in the utilities. So when you go to utilities, we've taken the space in the block calculators out of the main panel and moved them back here, and we've put the DFSMS HSM, say that 10 times fast, thing here, and we're also going to, use this panel as a landing place for things that are more end user related. Things that somebody beyond the storage administrator might use. So that's where things like this will start to land. So we've added option 3 here, the new the new HSM. Basically, it's a whole dialogue around using the HSM commands, which can be a little wonky and strange. So when you choose this, the first thing that it's going to ask you for is a prefix. And this isn't really a prefix in the same sense as 3.4 might want, or a list C command might want. It's any set of characters that would be at the front of a data set name. So you could, make it a partial user ID out to even a user ID plus a couple of levels of data set name. Here we're just using a user ID. And then as part of the query, you can choose whether you want to get all data sets that are in HSM under this prefix, or backup, or just migration. And then you would hit enter and move forward. One of the things that Lionel, who has done most of this work, has done is he's put a pretty substantial tutorial and help panels behind all of this stuff. So if something doesn't work or isn't quite understandable from the prompts on the screen, hitting PF1 or typing help at the option or command line will get you pretty substantive help. So we go and we whack enter and we move forward, and HList takes a while. So, to gather up all the information and get built into the ISPF table. And something ran a little bit fast. Okay, so 6, 7, 8. All right, so then we build up a large table of all the data sets that match, and it looks kind of like a 3.4 screen or any other regular ISPF selection table screen. And what you'll see here is the data sets in order. The migrated ones are first, and the backup ones are second. And you can see information about each one of them. For the backup data sets, we have the version level as well. You can then go back and filter out the migration or the backup ones if you wanted to reduce the volume information on the screen here as well. If you go and change the prefix, you can go here directly and change the prefix rather than backing all the way out as well. So again, there's more tutorial information, information on all the various parameters and what they mean. And there are also descriptions of all the commands that you can do and what happens when you type a line command. So the first line command we'll look at is the information line command, or info. You would just type an I next to the data set that you care about, and comes back with all of the information, sort of the travelogue or tourist information about the that data set, that it's been, here's the name of the data set, where it was migrated to, when it was last referenced, when it was migrated last, how many times it's migrated, the size and, within there, and what kind of a data set it is, and things like that. And then if you look at a backup data set rather than a migrated data set, you'll get slightly different information. Get the original data set name, and then you get the name of the data set as HSM has it maintained within the HSM backup areas, where it's backed up, where it was backed up from, various other information about that data set. So this is rather than doing H lists and trying to figure out the syntax of all those commands yourself. Now here's where the fun begins. One can do recalls and recoveries. So we've got R is sort of the fisherman's friend, or the Swiss Army knife command here, because it means you can do an H recover or an H recall with one command, and it doesn't matter which one's the right one to do. No, excuse me. So if you go and you type in R, and I'll go back there, right? If you type in R against the migrated data set, it's going to go off and issue a recall. And then when it comes back, it'll tell you the command that it issued so that you can look for it in logs in case something goes wrong. So here we did a recall on slvd.test.aaa.pds, and the R generated this command. We used the no wait option so that the dialog comes back to you immediately after issuing the command. When the command is done, right, like any other good TSO issued command, it'll come back as an unsolicited message and pop up and interrupt the dialog. Now, looking at recovering a backup data set, right, we'll put the R here. And because recovering a backup data set is different in the sense that there is probably a copy of the original data set sitting out in regular storage, we want to make sure and be very careful about making sure that we do not overwrite an existing copy of the data set if that's not your intent. So we'll prompt you for a new data set name, or if you wish to overwrite the current data set, you can put an R here in the restore, and then we're going to ask you to confirm that. So it's an R and a Y. So there's sort of a belt and suspenders thing going on here to make sure that you're not accidentally, going to tell us to overwrite the existing data set. So when you do that, we will take that information. We'll submit the hrecover command for you, including the data set name, the version, don't wait, and the name of where you want it to land after it's been hrecovered. And you'll see the recovery request go off to HSM. After some period of time, the recovery will complete and you'll get the message back. So, and again, lots of help and tutorial information sit behind all of these panels. Okay, the application also allows you to do bulk things. While we don't process things like span commands, we only allow one letter here. You can specify many things on a particular screen, and this is an animated panel, so I'll let it run by itself, and you can see that you'd be able to go off and, you know, get information for a bunch of data sets, and you can then PF3 your way through them, or issue a set of mixed commands, you know, get information for one, recall or recover another, delete, you know, another one, delete a backup, get information for yet another one, and they'll just go through in order. And as you push your way through the prompts, each one will get processed. That's kind of cool. Also, you can sort the table. Sometimes the list, the order that you're getting things in isn't necessarily the best way to do that. You can choose one of you can choose 2 fields to sort on. There are 3 fields that are sortable, and you can sort them, you know, ascending or descending, standard, epsidic, ordering rules apply. You don't have to do 2, you can do just 1. And then there's another way to filter the results. While you started with a prefix, you can then choose a string that would be within the dataset name. And so here, Lionel is showing us that you can look for dataset names that include the term or the letters ASM or ASM in it. And that will, when you hit enter on that, will filter down to just the Lionel's assembler dataset. So Lionel's really more of a Rex and C-list guy, so he only has the one assembler data set. If you did this on my user ID, you'd get a ton of assembler data sets. So that's really it for today. This is just one of those things that just sort of came up and was sort of, you know, Lionel was doing some testing for some other things in total storage and wanted to be able to deal with the impacts of what total storage was doing. And he said, you know, it would be great, and these commands stink. So I'm going to build a whole little ISPF application around them. So with that, I will stop and say thank you, and see if there are any questions on what's going on here. Like I said, this will be coming out real soon now, if not being available already on the version of the product that's out on the website. So any questions, thoughts? All right, well, if anything comes up, yeah, I was going to say, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out. Certainly we are looking for, you know, more topics and things to talk about. I love talking about the stuff that the elves are doing back in the factory. But there certainly are other topics I'd be glad to if I don't know about them, certainly research or bring in somebody who knows more about them than me to speak about them. So always up for that kind of stuff. So thank you, and back over to you, Erica.
Thank you.
Exactly. With that, again, if there is something like this that you'd like to see automated, we'd love to hear about it. And any topics that you'd like to talk about, we'd also like to hear about that. We have started uploading these into a YouTube channel, which I'm going to be sending out the link to here soon after this meeting. And this one will be loaded up sometime later this week for those who couldn't join us or joined us late. And we really appreciate you taking the time.